looks like they're going to deny the Galio away from Care. And honestly, good move considering how much he took over in the previous game.
How hard does our bloody champ select music go? Like everyone, I listen to other regions, and like other regions, champ select music is kind of like, you know, it's hyping up, but ours like brings in the hard bass like super early, and I absolutely love it. But like you mentioned here, RA gonna start banning away some of those solo laners. We see the Vladimir being banned away by FPX alongside the Galio by RA. So the Galio, massive thorn in the side of RA in game 1 by Care, had a fantastic game on it, and they're gonna ban away the Lissandra as well. So these big kind of CC impacting champions being taken off the board here by RA.
Yeah, and particularly those mids who have a lot of agency and can roam effectively, whereas FPX are kind of targeting top laners that can scale. I could honestly see them denying the Kayle in this situation as well, away from Cube, especially as it's not like FPX can blind Kayle because they know Cube lands with the Nasus.
Can just go with the Nasus, like you say. So we cannot blind that one. The LeBlanc going to be banned away here, as we do see the Ahri Lissandra also banned. So it's going to be an interesting one now to see where we want to try and take these drafts. You do have access to things like the, I was going to say, the Corki and the Victor, which we have seen of later days, but looks like Rare Adam want to go for something a little bit more safer. Orianna, seen as the most blindable mid laner in all time, just something that you can just pick in and know that you're not going to maybe not have a great mid lane, but you're going to have an all right time.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good old school blind. I'm not sure I'm so convinced at the moment. I feel like there's a lot of champions that are range Orianna. There's a lot of champions that have more agency early. She's kind of like, you know, she's decent prio for sure, but not as good in the skirmishes, and obviously scales well, so it'll fit to an extent for RA, but FPX will pick up the Sylas, which we've seen huge amount of priority on. Obviously, LPL Sylas, definitely a big pick for the region, but the fact that the buffs came in really solidified him to a solid spot. And now, for xiaolaohu to pick up a blind top, he's going to go for that Gwen once more. Do we just see the Kayle come out from Cube?
Yeah, I mean, again, we kind of mentioned it a little bit in the game when it was kind of already over. Cube didn't have a bad game whatsoever. Cube just kind of sat in top lane, did his job. I don't even think we looked at top lane at all during that game, really, until he was about level 12. But Cube didn't have a bad time of it whatsoever. Now RA got a little bit better of an engage. They've got a little bit more agency in that bot side to be able to protect themselves. They're going to go with the Kayle again. I think Cube's going to say, all right, you know, doing the Peaky Blinders thing of no fighting to the rest of his team and kind of saying, like, we chilling, we just scaling, don't worry about it.
I actually feel like, you know, Gnar would have in theory been good here, but you can't pick Gnar into Sylas ever because Gnar ult, the whole thing with Gnar ult is just so powerful, but it's gated by the fact you have to be Mega Gnar. It also has a 100% AP ratio. So as much as, like, I would have liked to see a more active pick, because the problem is, last game I was like, okay, RA outscale in the top and bot lane. Here they don't, right? Zeri Yuumi is going to be more powerful than Jinx Nautilus in the late stage of the game. Ori, I mean, they have a strong front to back, like Ori, Jinx, Kayle, they can play to range. But I feel like as long as FPX can close the gap, they should be okay. But that's the question. They don't have any primary engage right before they have the Jarvan, which you talked about. Now they're going to be a bit more reliant on finding flank angles, finding opportunities to get onto the backline of RA. But regardless, I mean, you pick the Kayle, it's going to outscale the Gwen. If you can hit level 16, which they didn't last game, obviously, maybe that's a window you can play through.
Again, you scale, that's great. You got to get to that scaling. You got to get to the 3-item Jinx. You got to get to the level 16 Kayle with any number of items. It doesn't really matter at that point. And oh, excuse me. But yeah, that's where you're kind of going at. And again, I think if FPX can be proactive, if FPX can get themselves into positions where they're not going to be dancing to the beat of what RA want to do, I think FPX are going to be very comfortable with trying to take these fights. Viego, exceptionally powerful with this Sylas. That mid-jungle combination, specifically in that lane, is going to be something that Strive's going to have to be very, very wary of if he doesn't want to try and fall back in this lane. Yeah,
and I mean, iBoy, I was pretty critical of him last game. I'm going to say it was justified. And I'm hoping he can really step up and not just get caught out consistently. I feel like it's not the Galio from last game. It's going to be a bit more difficult to sort of catch them out in the bot lane, but still the skirmishing is really strong. And I think that's the thing, is that for me, when I look at Leyan, the lane with the best setup is bot lane. You have the CC from the Nautilus. You can try and capitalize on that to make things happen. Outside of that, you don't have fantastic setup, and you just get out skirmished. Early game, Gwen is going to be a lot more relevant than the Kayle. Sylas is going to be more relevant than the Orianna when it comes to those skirmishes. And also, like, Sylas, Viego, very hard to deal with in extended fights, especially if Clid can get those resets.
You know what I just noticed or realized in my head. We talk about scaling when we go talk about Kayle. What happens if you put an S in front of Kayle? It becomes scale. I don't know, this conspiracy theory, you know, it's like one of those things of like, what do the numbers mean, Mason? What do the numbers mean? Just how my brain works. A little insight into how my brain decides to function every day again. But we are going to see actually a curious start here. We're actually getting Wolves being started by Clid. So he's going to go Wolves to blue. And then I imagine maybe even going for like a red side invade or something like that. Or maybe even a blue, a mid lane level 2 or something. So curious to see how that jungle path goes if we're keeping an eye on that. But RA do end up giving their jungler a little bit of a leash. And the wave shall be owned here by FPXs. Yuyanjia now putting himself in a brush. Far scarier as a Nautilus than a Yuumi in that brush on his own.
Yeah, and if you can connect the CC, level 1's not exactly the best point to fight, just because you don't have as much damage all in. I feel like once you get the traps on Zeri, on Jinx, that's when it becomes a bit more threatening to layer that CC and kind of lock Lwx in place. Bear in mind, you're not going to take cleanse on Nautilus, so Lwx doesn't have cleanse for the Jinx CC either. Now, we do see Leyan is actually going to look for a bit of an invade here. He does have prio mid, but bot prio really isn't favored. Actually going to look for a gank, not an invade.
Yeah, I was going to say
this
is a great move here. They've got a ward in the river, but not behind them in the brush. This is going to be an immediate 3v2 situation. They're going to flash in, get the CC down. They don't land the Sonic Wave just yet, and the flash is good. It was a good move from RA, but perfectly answered by FPX.
Yeah, a lot of summoners burn. I do feel like it was a bit of a misplay, though, because as a Lee Sin here, you shouldn't be firing your Sonic Wave until either all mobility's been used from Lwx or unless they are CC'd. So let Nautilus throw out his hook and either he hits and you land your Q, or he misses because they flash, and then you should be able to follow up and close the gap. I don't know if they necessarily would have killed Lwx there if he landed the Sonic Wave at the end, but at bare minimum, he would have been a bit more chunked out. That being said, he resets anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. I just want to see a return gank, though. That's the main thing for me, especially as Yuyanjia does have Hex Flash, so not as much of a loss him trading flashes.
Yeah, again, he will still have access to at least some form of a dash, as Leyan does end up getting his double scuttle in the end, as he did see the full pathing of Clid. Knows he's on the bot side of the map, takes away the scuttle on bot, goes straight up to the top side, and now has all his camps as well. So he doesn't actually lose anything on that gank. Realistically, he just kind of maybe delayed himself a tiny bit, but at the end of it all, still be able to pick up absolutely everything. And Kayle having a lot worse of a time this time around now on the Sylas, coming in against Strive, who is on the Orianna.
Yeah, not having a good time so far. And it's kind of the expectation is that in the laning phase, you're playing into Orianna as a melee champion. She can harass you down with autos, short cooldown Q just to keep putting pressure on you while hitting the wave. Kayle really just wants to get out of the lane on this one and get into some fights. But for the time being, it's rough. Now, Clid is looking for Cube. This should be a free gank.
This should be a free gank. They will land the stun down. The flash will come in for Cube, and he will end up getting himself safe. So we're seeing a little bit more action now for Cube in this top side. They're saying, look, you're not getting the free lane you got last time. You will have to be careful.
Yeah, and I mean, Cube kind of misplayed it because he didn't really need to step up to the lane, but he walked forward so that that big chunk of terrain that you can see just below him now was able to cut him off from the vision of seeing Clid come round. So gave an opportunity for Clid to get that stun. Obviously, flash down, so a return gank can be particularly threatening. See, actually, Leyan is the one making his way up there. But there is a river ward, so he should get spotted out.
Well, mid laner is TP'd back into the mid lane with an item or two, as we see a full engage onto iBoy, who does get ignited down. So Yuyanjia gonna have to try and body block here as Hong just playing a bit nuisance here as iBoy very low, and first blood going over to Lwx. This Zeri is uncontainable.
You know what, Sheen? I'm gonna draw your attention to the right side of the screen. See where it says RA iBoy? Slightly below that, you should see there is both a heal and a flash available.
Not necessarily in that order, but yeah.
Yeah, I think he must have got caught off guard because Lwx had the piercing attacks, right? Because he used his E and it went through the minions to finish him off. But I mean, iBoy has had an atrocious series so far. And the fact that this Zeri Yuumi has got a kill already, they were down summoners. You gotta remember as well, they're down summoners here. iBoy just steps up, ends up being overextended. And this is the main thing, is they see Yuumi out of Zeri and they try to kill Yuumi, but you just don't have the damage, don't have the follow-up. And yeah, I can't even justify iBoy not burning any sums there.
I mean, yeah, it feels like right there you need to burn your flash. And that seems to be a recurring theme for iBoy, honestly, between this split and last, where he has summoners available to him. He has ways of getting out, but he just holds on to them as if his life depends on them, and unfortunately it does. And by, you know, by holding on to it as much as he does, he just gains absolutely nothing. There's Yuyanjia. You're a big boy. You ain't going to be sneaking around nowhere on this Nautilus. So yeah, just get caught out, Leyan. Having a little bit of time now in this bot side. We will see a reset coming in for Clid as he goes back and picks himself a Caulfield's Warhammer. So a little bit of cooldown reduction and AD to maybe look for a fight. But right now, it is just harder and harder for iBoy to get back into this lane. He's got a Cole, but he's a little bit behind on that power spike. As xiaolaohu sitting on top of a ward is Leyan, and Leyan now going to be in a little bit of trouble. They got Kayle coming in as well. There is a flash available, and he has to burn it. And this is again and again what we're seeing from RA. They're just making these very small errors that are costing them big time in the summoner department.
And that's the thing. You have a top lane who's going to be more relevant. Kayle is jumping at any opportunity to move out of lane and get involved. He's like, yes, please. I hate laning into Orianna.
Yep.
Make this happen. But I just feel like it's a worry, right? Leyan hasn't been able to make anything happen. We're going to get level 6 from the Viego soon, which makes him super threatening. Bot lane is a struggle, and this is the expectation. If you're playing Nautilus in this lane with the Jinx, you know, if you can't all in, you're just standing there watching them harass your AD carry or occasionally blocking it like that. It is not a good lane to be in when behind.
No, Cube holding his ground for now. Leyan is in the area, but you have a Heartbreaker for Clid and no Dragon Rage kick for Leyan. So it's going to be a little bit of a mismatch here as they go for the full all-engage. The Ghost has been popped. The Needlework has been used as well. They now know that Leyan is here, but again, he doesn't have access to his ultimate, and he's going to get reset upon. Cube now trying to see if he can catch on to xiaolaohu, but he's been crippled because you've given over the Lee Sin. Double kill to Clid. FPX winning on all fronts.
And I just feel like that was so rough for RA. Leyan didn't have level 6. As you said, if you don't have the kick, you can't burst at a target. The goal for RA there should be you burst someone quickly. They can't do the same because you have a Kayle ult. Because Leyan was waiting to level up, Clid survived. The Kayle ult ended up being used on Cube, maybe a bit too early, I gotta say. And then as a result, we end up FPX get the reset, and then it's 2 kills there. RA, you're already a game down in the series, and it's not looking good. We can get the replay. So, like, I think if Leyan has his 6 here,
he's so close.
They could instantly start bursting Clid, but also Cube just ults a bit too early, and they switch targets.
It's also the fact that the level 6 comes in literally right at the end. You can see it. He's waiting for one more minion to die, and because that one minion doesn't die for so long, it just makes it such a long and a laborious task. He eventually gets it, but it's way too late in terms of the actual grand scheme of the fight. And for FPX, this is huge for them. They will not get the first dragon. That will go over to RA, but FPX winning on top. They're winning on bot. Clid is huge right now. We've got 2 kills moving up towards the Divine Sunderer, so he is going to lose his red buff, sadly, though, and this should be RA getting a little bit back on the board. But again, FPX kind of swimming to their own beat right now. They're happy to take any and every fight.
Yeah, and the saving grace to Strive is strong. And, you know, I see an opportunity where if RA can maintain range in team fights and just front to back, you know, they are powerful there. But my concern really is the fact that this Zeri is just going to be such an issue, such a problem. You know, we've seen this champion be monstrous just last game.
All right, coming back into it now. We've got about 13 or so stacks left for Lwx on his Cole, whereas it's about 50 odds for iBoy on his. So you're going to ways away for that. So you are going to see a very large power spike for Lwx in this bot side very, very soon. How do we want FPX to transition this? There's no dragon. There shouldn't be a Rift Herald for another 4.5 minutes. As I say that, they're going to see an immediate engage. They don't catch him out. And now iBoy, he's been caught out a little bit. They're going to put down the exhaust to try to trade this one back, but Yuyanjia's getting some decent damage here. Flash in from Lwx. iBoy keeps his for game 3, as they're going to be able to trade it back eventually. A flash away from Yuyanjia, who salvages the play. But again and again, iBoy just not respecting the damage.
iBoy just really not playing this entire series well. I feel like if you're going to leave Zeri open, you should be able to deal with it and play against it, but he's just been fumbling again and again. And when you see a play coming in mid, ooh,
they don't quite get him, but now Strive, who has his own shockwave, will use it to try and just swipe it back, but Strive almost going down the burn. Is it enough? No, it's not, because the safeguard was there. Nicely done there by Strive to keep himself safe. But again, it's FPX being proactive. It's FPX making the plays.
Yeah, and it's a misplay from Clid there, not connecting the stun. That kind of cost that. Just the ult trade in the top lane, but xiaolaohu might look for more.
I mean, Cube hasn't got ultimate now. He might have to use his own flash, but he knows that xiaolaohu's not going to be brave enough to go underneath the tower. Does take an unfavorable trade, but this is, again, FPX kind of winning on all fronts. And now you've got Clid coming in saying, look, I might not have ultimate, but neither does Cube. They will, at minimum, get the flash out of him. You got to feel. And that's going to be enough. Ooh, the flash comes in just in time.
Yeah, and I think for FPX, you're talking about how they transition this. Just find a window to use the Herald. If you got to kill top there, slam the Herald down, you can take the tower. If you find more success bot lane, the same thing can happen. Now, we see RA set up for a dive. Orianna is moving down. Zeri's in trouble.
Zeri is in trouble right now. They're going to get the Super Mega Jet Rocket, but it's... Ooh, Leyan! Oh, they finally get him off. It was some heroics coming in from Hong. It almost went disastrously, but RA finally finding a bit of momentum.
And I gotta say, I feel like FPX kind of flubbed because xiaolaohu TP top at the start of the play, and Kayle has TP. They could have sent both solo lanes in and possibly turned that around, but they end up going, deciding they just want to cross map. So they give over those 2 kills, they'll give over a ton of plates, but they do get that first tower in return for themselves.
Might get a second charge, and honestly, they might get a kill as well. I don't think there's really anything Cube could do here. He's going to try and maybe defend it as best he can. It will be traded so far for a tier 1 on the bot side. Yuyanjia is here, so it will just be a charge. Clid will take away some Krugs as a little bit of a reward as well. And at the end of it all, it's still about 1,000 gold lead going over to FPX. So not a massive hole to be in, as FPX still trying to find some big advantages in this bot side. Yeah, and what ends up happening here is Yuyanjia does a good job of CCing Hong towards the end. You actually see him interrupt the jump back. So Hong is now locked out. If he could get back inside of the Jinx, he would easily be able to turn that into a double kill. So good from Yuyanjia to mitigate his AD carry's mistakes. And here, Kayle's not able to connect to the flash. Clid misses the stun. And that really is a difference maker. If that stun had connected from Clid, that would have been a kill. But yeah, I've got to say, all in all, as much as FPX still got the whole entire tower and first tower, the fact that RA traded pretty well in that situation, I got to say favors them. They were already down. We talked about how they need to lean into the scaling at this point. For them to be trading evenly when the enemy team has a Herald, you absolutely take that. Yeah, and iBoy with getting that full plate or turret plate gold from the tower on the bot side means that he's now actually got his Kraken Slayer, so he's at a decent spike, but they go immediately in. iBoy finally realizes he has a flash button, but it is all too little, too late. Yuyanjia getting pushed in underneath the turret. There's 2 kills. Leyan has now found himself in a 1v1 versus Kayle. Strife is around, though, to make sure that that 1v1 does not stay that way, and this should be RA picking up this tower. Honestly, pretty much uncontested, and this is, again, just FPX. Good proactive play. Yeah, making the moves, and you can see the confidence from Lwx and Hong. I mean, I have to remind you, this was the bot lane who, when they played against EDG, they left Lucian Nami open when no one else was. They picked Calista Renata, and they dove them level 2, right? This is such an aggressive, confident bot lane for FPX, and they're really showing up when they need them to. Oh, yes, you got the priority in bot lane, but you don't have the priority over the dragon. You can see xiaolaohu is already roaming down to try and maybe contest this, but I feel like it's too little too late here for FPX, and already that dragon should be going over to RA. So again, good objective control, something we didn't see in game 1 from RA, so they're not out of this one just yet. Yeah, it's really important because it's going to essentially delay the potential soul from FPX, give more time to RA, and also, I've got to say, it's a Hextech Soul. This would be pretty powerful for RA. I talked about how they wanted to play the fights front to back, stay at range. Really helps out if you have that AoE slow ability. Like if iBoy can hit a rocket and slow down everyone FPX, it's going to make it so much more difficult to close the gap. A lot of them are just relying on getting on top of the backline. They don't have things like the Jarvan Cataclysm from last game to instantly find windows of to engage. Well, Reptile is going to be started off here. As FPX do find themselves in a nice little pocket of no vision, a little fog of war. They should be able to pick this one up without any real problems. Leyan was sitting off on the side in case someone got lazy, but there was a ward to spot him out. And now Kayle has a little bit of free time on this bot side to kind of push himself up. Still waiting to pick up his Everfrost for the moment. Leandri's Anguish has been picked up by Strive, so bit of a power spike for RA, and right now RA, they're not doing too terribly in the grand scheme of things. They are about 2,000 gold behind. They just need to try and find out LWX. If they can kill off LWX, a lot of this gold lead will just go away.
Honestly, I feel like at this point it's Clid, right? Because they killed LWX earlier. Like in fights, for winning fights, that, yeah, fair enough. But I feel like in terms of getting gold back, they have to shut down on Clid. If you stop the resets from the Viego, it can really hurt the extended fights. But I think RA, it's just about stopping the bleeding. You've got those 2 early dragons. You no longer need to contest dragons for another like 8.5 minutes if you don't find a window to. Obviously, if you can get the dragons, fantastic. But there's no pressure. You have a ton of wave clear as well with your team. Jinx, out of all AD carries, one of the best at just killing waves from a distance. Orianna is obviously fantastic, and Kayle is holding up fine in the side lane. So I think just slow down the pace of the game, don't make unnecessary aggressive plays, and get to the point where, I mean, I guess Kayle is 16 and Jinx is super relevant.
Well, might go for an engage here. The kick over the wall delivers 2 people. They try to get the ultimate out of the Yuumi, but the Yuumi keeps Clid alive just about. They get a hook onto Care, who's forced to flash away. This is RA just having a moment of brilliance and saying, look, we know we can catch you out. You're separated and we can find ourselves a pick. They don't get any kills, but they get the pressure.
I do have to say, though, Leyan and Strive, you know, one of your abilities kicks them away, the other pulls them in when it's on top of someone. So just really did not sync those together. Didn't think about it. And now Yuyanjia's wants to be down.
Oh, they land the chains on top of him. He's forced to flash away. And again, this is what's so unique about the LPL. It's like I look at all the other regions. Everyone's kind of sitting there, reserving themselves, waiting to see what happens at the next big fight. LPL teams don't care about that. They will fight you at every single moment, because if they can burn your flash before the next fight, that's an objective in their head.
It can make such a big difference burning, especially I look at people like iBoy in particular. If you can burn his flash before a fight, makes such a big difference. And they're just looking for windows, fishing for opportunities. Harold comes down mid, but it's not enough to take the tower. And that's really significant for RA. If they can keep mid tier 1 alive, it becomes a lot harder for FPX to set up for objectives like the Baron. So if we can keep defending that, will make a big difference. So for the time being, I think FPX probably just going to go for reset soon, spend your gold, and set up for that next dragon. They really want to make sure they can secure that one.
Well, we'll have a look at the replay here. It's probably just going to be the mid lane. But yeah, this is just Leyan kind of saying, look, we can go for this. We know we can get this fight. They do get the flash kick back, but yeah, the shockwave not synced up properly.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe Strive thought he potentially would be too far away to get over the wall. Maybe that's the thought process. I'm not too sure, but either way, not synced correctly. They don't manage to take out Clid. And you see how low he was at the end. It's a guaranteed he would have died there if that had connected. So, but unfortunate. But either way, RA at least looking for some proactive windows when they are given the opportunity.
This is a 2-item Jinx coming up to level 11, and this is starting to get a little bit scary now for the side of FPX. They need to make sure that they're getting the right fights. As we can see, Care is going to get caught out by the chains just here. The Everfrost will land. It's a little bit of an auto-attack war right now. There's going to be the Divine Intervention coming out as Cube and Care just seeing if they can make something work here. As Care can't get himself over the wall, but Cube has already used his flash. He's already used his ultimate. Was a little bit touch and go there for a brief second, but LWX will be able to pick up that kill. But now you've got 3 people topside. I don't think you can defend this dragon, so RA should be getting themselves a soul point.
I feel like FPX are just forced in here because Cube's not going to be alive for a while. You have Care with TP, so yes, you don't have control of the area immediately, but you have a lot of champions who are able to push in and contest. So I think you just go for it. You really don't want to give over this dragon to the enemy team.
You can't give it over just yet. Yuyanjia gets the blast cone over the wall. They know the dragon's being taken right now. They're going to use the Hex Gate to get xiaolaohu onto the backside of this. He's got Ghost and he's got himself his ultimate. He gets over with the blast cone. They try and just create some space. They go in. They secure the dragon on FPX, and then the real fight can begin. Leyan is already dead. He gets the kickback from xiaolaohu. Shockwave only lands onto 1, but the Zeri is dead. Now the real fight can begin as Cube finally joins the team, but he doesn't have flash. He doesn't have ultimate. What real use is he going to be right now as they're finally getting onto the backside of this one? FPX with Clid at the helm, pushing forward and burning RA down to a crisp.
And I need to remind you, they didn't have to contest that. They didn't have to go for it. We said earlier they had 2 dragons in pocket. They could have just let it go. But RA insist on making it happen. Wanted to make the enemy team pay for taking down the top laner. And all that happens is they get absolutely crushed. And now FPX could go for the Baron if they want, but instead they're going to take down that mid-tier 1. They're not going to overstay and risk giving RA a window back into the game.
Oh, windows open, no doors, not even a crack in the wall shall be left open by FPX. So we have a look at the replay here. And like you said, didn't have to contest this. Once they saw the Hex Gate and the TP, they could have just backed away.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like posturing for it is the initial mistake. I feel like at this point, they've committed too much. They're in the fight. And they end up getting collapsed on. The Hex Gate's obviously a massive tool for a team without Engage to get in. And they start feeling a bit confident when they get a reset for iBoy. But they just don't have the damage. The Nautilus ult is huge. It disrupts iBoy. And at this point, when Care connects the stun as well, there's nothing they can do. I think the play would have just been not to set up for it at all. You know, back away, don't contest. Give FPX a dragon, who really cares? Because now the gold lead is starting to get really significant.
Yeah, 4,000 now is the gold lead, and you can see with Clid 5-0 and 1. This Viego is becoming such a menace. The Zeri, the Viego, so many things that can just run rampant and keep themselves alive no matter how much you throw at them. I will say it is almost level 14 for Cube, so he is getting very, very powerful with that Wit's End as well. You can see a couple of times he's nearly been able to turn it around with his auto attacks, but again, still a ways away. And will you be given that time? That's the question FPX need to start answering.
I think it's so rough. I mean, Jinx needs 3 items at least, I feel. Kayle obviously needs level 16. Strive is pretty strong, but, you know, it's quite hard to connect shockwaves in this fight. Gwen can be immune. Clid has a force of nature, so he's hard to cut through. Care has Zhonya's as well and is quite mobile, as is the bot lane. It just feels like, you know, there's some games where Orianna Shockwave, you have the setup for it. It's quite easy. This is not one of those games, so I already have that work cut out for them, especially with this deficit. And FPX are just confident. They can even play sides like this. They have the Gwen pushing the top lane. They have the Sylas pushing bot. They can easily rotate to either side and look to capitalize on those stacked waves if needed, or can just continue to try and contest this vision around Baron.
See what they end up opting in for. Cube on the bot side has just ticked over to level 14, so building up towards his Riftmaker. So we'll have the Riftmaker Wit's End combination. A little bit more defensive. You would tend to see a little bit more on the... oh, interesting interaction there. I thought that would have made a longer one, considering it went over the remnants of the turret, but never mind that. And yeah, again, both teams happy to kind of just wait until this next dragon spawns at a minute 45. I think iBoy specifically would love to get his 3rd item. He is nearly there towards his IE. Once you get that IE there onto the Jinx, that becomes a very, very scary carry. And if you can start to get resets, that's when this fight could turn around in favor of RA.
Absolutely. And I also want to say, it's not just that, but the individual dragons, the Hextech dragons, they give 6% attack speed, 6 ability haste. Like, that is fantastic for Gwen. That is fantastic for Viego, for Sylas, for Zeri. Yuumi, not so much because you're not really auto-attacking, but like that, just like if they end up with 3-4 Hextech dragons, that is a lot of free stats. And, you know, often what happens is some champions don't benefit from the attack speed that much. Some champions benefit more from the ability haste, but a lot of champions in FPX benefit from both, so tons of value there.
Tons of value and tons of vision as well. We just saw the minimap come up and the Fog of War kind of for RA as they were just walking into absolutely nothing. Luckily enough for them, though, FPX weren't posturing around the Baron. They weren't looking to make anything happen as of yet, but they may look to try and catch out Strive, who might be forced to flash away. It might be a little bit too late, though. He thought about it, and that hesitation cost him his life.
Oh, now it's TP. They're looking towards the Baron.
I mean, this is xiaolaohu on the Gwen. He's not going to be immune as he immediately comes in. Yuyanjia flashes, though. Healed up by Cube. He does get hooked up, but gets himself the dredge line off onto the wall. And Spider-Man's his way out. But now you've lost yourself, your mid laner, and you've no flash on Yuyanjia. Very difficult to get vision now in on top of this dragon, or excuse me, this Baron. They get the stolen ultimate from the Nautilus. They get jumped onto Leyan, who knows he's the target. He keeps himself alive with the Gore Drinker, but it's not enough. iBoy goes down because he didn't flash in time, and that's going to be Baron for FPX.
Yep, absolutely. They're going to send xiaolaohu towards the dragon, but I think they should give Yuumi the xiaolaohu as well. They don't need 5 members here. I honestly feel like they should send like the Gwen plus Yuumi to dragon just to secure it so Cube can't get it. But either way, they'll pick up both objectives, it seems. I think Cube's not risking to head over. We'll see them picture in picture. Strive caught out. Just ends up overstaying and a good flash stun coming in. Pick him off now. See if they get here in time for Dragon, but yet RA back away. They're not going to try. They're not going to risk it.
They tried to be cheeky. They tried to see if they could maybe sneak it away, but not really on the cards there. And RA, honestly, very deflated in this series altogether. iBoy has had an atrocious 2 games so far. 0 and 5 now on the Jinx. And even in this fight, which we'll see here, he has plenty of times to give that distance, to flash himself away and create distance between himself and FPX, but he just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he struggles to find his footing in any of these fights, and he's under tower. He should be able to get some damage down, but just ult doesn't connect, not really able to get anyone low, caught out by the root, and oh my.
0-6. I'm actually going to have a quick look at what his score was in that last game. See
yeah, you have a look.
Actually...
I'll try and talk about something else, because, man, I don't even know what to say to this at this point. Very disappointing. Kev trying to predict the flash there with the stun, but doesn't quite get it. Either way, though, this doesn't even look like a 0-5 team against a 1-3 team. This looks like a 5-0 team against a 1-3 team. FPX are making it not even look close. And with this Baron in Cho, they're just going to look to close out this game, or at least take a ton of structures in the meantime. Strive is there to try and defend. Cube close to level 16, but not quite there yet.
Not quite there, but the base has already been broken. Yuyanjia has already been taken out. That's going to be another death in the column as they finally break open that inhibitor. Yeah. This is the Zeri poke that you were talking about that we didn't see in game 1. We're now seeing it in game 2, and their base is in tatters. Yes, you have a Kayle who will be level 16 soon. I don't even think that's going to help you. I think you need another, at minimum, 10-15 minutes of game time to get yourself up to critical mass.
I didn't even know what's going to come in here. It's so hard. And iBoy, yeah, gets TP'd on, starts to walk towards Yuyanjia, and then I think the core might be, look, you're dead, dude. Just take the owl. I'll get out of here.
Yeah, iBoy was 2 and 8, by the way, in the last game. So that makes his total in-game kind of, or in-series KDA of 2 and 14 between the 2 games. It has not been
you know what I'm going to say? 2 and 14 so far.
Yeah. What are you, the Simpsons movie or something? Just the worst game of your life so far.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's still time.
There's
it
still
looks like
time.
FPX aren't trying to give it over to RA, though. They are pushing down. And Post coming out for the Zeri. Yuyanjia does absorb over the shield, but look at Care on the flank with the kick, by the way.
Yep, he's going to kick in. Yuyanjia, who goes down now. The Nautilus not really going to have much relevance in this fight. You do have level 16 Q, but I just don't think it's going to be enough, buddy. There's another kill for iBoy as a triple kill comes in for xiaolaohu, and that is absolute massacre. But by FPX onto RA, they will take their first win of the split, 2-0, and what a way to do it.
A much-needed win for FPX. We talked on it earlier how vital it was, especially as their next series will be up against JDG, which will be a hard task. But they finally end their big loss streak. And they do it in a fashion that left no doubt, no uncertainty that FPX were by and far the best team today. By a massive margin.
Not even close. And again, that sounds really egregious, and it sounds really like, oh, you're flaming the team. Anyone who watches that game is not going to try and, spin it any other way. There were 1 or 2 moments like Cube. Yeah, you got to level 16. Well done. But again, there's not a lot you can do on the Kayle. I think that's the big thing we saw. A lack of agency, a lack of wanting to pick up plays from the side of RA, and FPX just kind of ran them ragged.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of good proactive play coming out from Care in the mid lane. But for me, the highlight was this bot lane for FPX. The gap between AD carries was massive. There was such a canyon between them. And I felt like Lwx and Hung are a bot lane who, even when FPX has struggled, we've seen them have positives, right? Against EDG when they went for that level 2 tower dive, which was hilarious, but also effective. There was countless other times where they've had that aggression in lane. The time when FPX were best in spring was when the team played at this bot lane, let them be aggressive, fostered their ability just to challenge the 2v2. And I feel like this game was more indicative of what we saw there. This series was, right? We have the mid trying to make things happen, roam down towards bot. We have Clid being active on the map and playing for his laners. Top lane, you're just playing a scaling champion, whatever. And then bot lane, like, look, it's go time, 24/7 non-stop. And particularly when you look at this, as much as the next series is JDG, that'll be a tough one. A lot of the other teams they play, I think FPX bot lane can just outmatch them. So if they continue on this trend, they could still make playoffs. They could still bring it back despite the bad start.
Yeah, I will say the next game is against JDG. That is later on this week, so that is a tough one to do. But again, JDG have shown that they are not unfathomable. They are a team that can take mistakes, can, you know, drop a game or two. And if you can play like that against someone like JDG, you will find opportunities for yourself. But then the schedule becomes far easier for FPX. They go up against LGD, LNG, OMG, Anyone's Legend, TT, BLG. Like, these are very much teams that they could end up kind of going from a 0-5 start to maybe somewhere around, like, you know, the 6-6, you know, but towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ground to be gained, and as we said,
Just feels bad.
It feels bad, but as long as you can maintain strong mental as a team, and you can be like, look, these losses don't matter. If you took a game off RNT, we took a game of top esports, it doesn't matter if we fall to these teams, we can still bounce back. That's the thing. That's why it is different in the LPL compared to other major regions. In other major regions, you get to the halfway point and you're like, right, we've faced everyone. Where we are is a pretty good read on our strength. We can try and improve that, but we're going to have to face the same teams all over again. And the LPL is completely different. You know, you haven't faced all the teams. You kind of have a rough start. You kind of have an easy start. That's something that I kind of talked about with LNG the last 2 splits prior to this one, is they had very easy starts. So they would go 7-0, and then they'd hit this rough spot in the middle. Whereas here, I think FPX had a very rough start. And the question was, you know, especially that IG series, that was the exception. That was the one where it's like, okay, you got 2-0 by IG. Not too sure about that one. But I think this win against RA, not only is it a good win in terms of standings, it will revitalize the team, it will revitalize the fans and give them faith. Yes, FPX are still a contender.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is why we can't really count anybody out until they're mathematically taken out of the system. Again, you don't even have to be half as good as the rest of the pack. It's the top